Well, this guy back here, Batman, he's coming up a lot in our history of awesome. This may be my favorite year for him, though, because this is the year that we got Batman the Animated Series. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, working with Warner, made a cartoon that I feel like is the best representation of Batman across any medium. Yeah. And also introduced Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinzel, her first introduction was in this episode called Joker's Favor. And I don't know what it was about her that people loved, but it was just that she was this crazy, she was, you know, Joker's first henchwoman. And she was obsessed with the Joker, and she was another, like, Joker incarnation. And I just remember loving that show because it was super dark. And it was enjoyed by adults and kids alike, and it really pulled from all the best parts of Batman, from the 1960s show to the Tim Burton films, you know, and it had the Art Deco, Gotham City, that was just so cool. And you were talking a lot about the artwork when we were planning this, but yeah, the artwork sketched on dark plats, or what were they called? They
well, yeah, instead of drawing on white, which is usually the standard, they drew on
black. And then just added the bright colors later on, and so it created this really cool ambiance. They had amazing lighting effects, and you can just tell in the first, you know, even the opening of that show how amazing the design was.
And that theme and that opening is very very time and place for me. Like anytime that I hear that theme, I can see the animation that goes along with it.
And the music from that show is something that's kind of carried over throughout all the Batman media that followed.
They use that intro to pitch the series. Like that title sequence pitches the series.
It really,
and that's what convinced the folks to invest in this. And as a viewer, like, you're immediately in there. You know who Batman is, you know what's at stake, and you know kind of like what you're getting into. And it never fails to get me excited.
Oh, that flash of lightning, that last brilliant flash where you see him for just a second.
Just standing on the building.
I love something you said. You pointed out the fact that, you know, they drew on dark paper and then used bright colors. This is a show that, despite being, we said it was a dark series, but it's not dark the way like Daredevil is. It's visually dark, but then it's full of color. It's also full of melancholy and occasionally sweetness. You mentioned, you know, Harley Quinn comes along. She's not the kind of sexualized Harley Quinn that we see more and more now. She's kind of a hopeless romantic. She's in a way, in her own perverse way, she's kind of a sweet character.
She's in love with Joker, but he won't give her the time of day.
That kind of tragic sentimentality, I think, is really embodied in the way they treated Mr. Freeze as well, who was sort of this B-list character, kind of a throwaway in the comics.
His whole history was retconned for the animated series, and that's become his canon moving forward. And I love his story, the way that they set him up with his wife Nora, and like his episodes in particular are beautiful. Like. Amazing episodes.
I agree. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, the villains were great, but we have to emphasize the voice acting. Michael Ansara did Mr. Freeze. We know Mark Hamill did the Joker and has done him ever since. Kevin Conroy, there's no other Batman in my mind.
And he took a cue from Michael Keaton in the Batman movie to have a slightly different voice for each character. But I think he did it better than anybody else.
And he did it all on his own. It actually wasn't something that the casting directors or the directors were like, I want you to sound like this. He really came up with it on his own through Batman's backstory, which is just perfect. It's how we want Batman to be.
Right around this time of my youth, I was getting to the age that I thought I was too big for cartoons. So when I wanted to watch cartoons, I would pretend. My little brother was watching, so I wasn't watching cartoons, I was watching my little brother. When Batman came along, I stopped pretending. I had to get home and see every new episode of this wonderful thing.
And the storytelling was so good.
Was the time he got away, the thing where they're all sitting around playing poker, they're talking about, or the time I almost got him, pardon me, the time they're talking about each supervillain, talking about the time they almost got Batman between each commercial break, and at the end, you know, he's Clayface, and he's been sitting there the whole time listening. It's the most Batman moment. I just love it. It's everything you love about that character played out with humor and intelligence, and that show as characters, it did not talk down to children. It treated us like we had brains in our heads, and also understood that we wanted to see Batman be awesome. And it did both those things really well.
One of my all-time favorite shows.